Have you ever wondered what it takes for you to grow? Have you ever wondered, what do I need to do? Who do I need to become? What thing do I need to be able to learn or understand in order to be a person who grows? I've thought about this and I want to bring you four things that I think you need to focus on and understand that are going to be reoccurring themes in the process of your growth. Let's get into it. All right. So the first thing is the process. You have to understand in your growth, in your life, in your business, in your ministry, in your marriage, in whatever it is that you aspire to be better at, there's going to be a process. Now, this is extremely important because a lot of us have this idea that it's like, man, I cannot wait to get out of this feeling or this valley. And while I understand that, like I get that, trust me, like there's times where I'm like, man, I've been struggling with this thing for a minute, or I'm trying to like see some breakthrough. While I get that and I understand that, you have to understand that you are always going to be in a process. You were never created to just live on some mountaintop and never experience valleys. There's going to be moments in your life where there are mountaintop moments where you're just living it up, where things are just moving and flowing and you're feeling great and it's amazing, and praise God for this and praise God for that. And there's going to be moments where you're in the valley and you feel forsaken and you feel like nothing's working. There's no jobs coming through. Nobody cares about what you're doing. Everything is going against you. Your car's breaking down. It's like, it's one of those kind of things. You're just in the valley. And listen, of course, we all like the mountaintop moments, but the reality is that your growth occurs a lot of times the most in the valleys. So you are going to have to be a person that goes from mountaintop to valley, mountaintop to valley. And when you understand that that is the process of your life, you can understand that, you know what? Hey, listen, I'm just in a valley. I'm going to have a peak season, I'm sure, coming up soon. Who knows when, but I will have a peak and then I'll have another valley. Maybe you're in a peak season right now and you're feeling, oh, everything is great. Well, guess what? You're going to have a valley. It's not a matter of any type of superstition or any type of anything, really. It's just a matter of that's what's needed and required for your growth. So you have to understand there is a process. There's a process. You can never escape the process and you can never abandon the process. You can delay the process, but you cannot get out of the process. So the sooner that you just make peace with it and just go, listen, like I'm in a process. This is a process. I'm not where I'm at, where I want to be at, or things are not the way they want to be, whatever, you know, or maybe you're just feeling yourself. You know what I mean? You're like, man, I'm killing it. Nobody could touch me. I don't need to hear nothing from nobody. No, listen, you're going to be in a process and you're going to be humbled, especially if you walk around saying things like that. So just like it actually helps you in the good times too. Because I remember, let me just tell you a quick story. I remember there was a particular time in my video career where I was really killing it. And this was a younger time. This was like the first time that I was actually killing it. And people were just like hitting me up left and right. And I just had all this business. And I was like, I got to pick and choose and be like, nah, I'm good. Extra 500 here. And I was just like, and listen, I'm gonna tell you the truth. It began to go to my head. I started making a lot of money and it was making me feel like, man, I'm the man. Like, man, these people need me. You are privileged just for me to pick up the phone and be willing to like use like, seriously. I hate to admit it, but there was a time where that stuff really started to go to my head. And I even remember having a conversation after that with a successful entrepreneur. And I was kind of like, man, like, you know, when you start killing it, how do you guard yourself from starting to feel like you're better than people, or that you just like, how do you not drink your own Kool-Aid? And I remember, you know, you gave me a good little conversation on that. But listen, the truth is that it happens. And when you understand that there's a process, you also understand that you could lose all that business tomorrow. So no matter how good or whatever you think you're doing, of course, as you grow, you get better and you're able to insulate it a little better. But you still understand and you live with the understanding that, man, I could lose all of that tomorrow. Like whatever it is I built up, I could lose it all. And that is understanding and knowing the process. The next thing, which kind of leads me into that, is the progress. The progress is part of your growth. You have to understand that when progress comes your way, you have a responsibility to steward your progress to give you a boost into the next season. Now, what do I mean by that? This is what I mean is there's gonna come times where you're in that process and you're gonna experience some progress. And you're gonna have different opportunities of what you can kind of spend that progress on. You could spend it on the admiration of others. You could spend it on making yourself look good. You could spend it on helping other people. You could spend it on, you could spend it on a lot of different things. And what I want you to kind of think of any time where you've progressed and you felt momentum. How did you spend it? What I mean is like, how did that shift your focus on what it is you're doing? Because part of the growth is understanding how to steward your progress. A lot of people talk about getting the progress. They talk about like, just, man, how do I get there? How do I get there? Because the truth is, a lot of people are living in a very defeated and a very lack mentality kind of position. So they're always trying to get. There's a lot of people that actually have enough that they don't need to get no more. They just simply need to steward, that their life would be better if they just simply just focused on stewarding. But they still are in this mentality where they're trying to get, they're trying to acquire, they're trying to get. And so part of your growth is understanding how to steward and how to use effectively your progress. And if you're not careful, or you're not wise, or you're not understanding, or you lack knowledge, then you are not going to be a person who stewards your progress and leads you into the next level of growth. Now, the next level of growth is what I would call the promise. So we have the process, we have the progress, and now we have the promise. And the promise is interesting because this is deeper than just progress. This is like the things that you believed for. Like there's a lot of time. I remember sitting at my sales job, and I remember thinking to myself, like, man, I cannot wait to do filmmaking full time. One day I'm going to do filmmaking full time. Like one day people are going to pay me hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars, to do this. And I remember like that was a promise. And I remember being so entrenched in believing for this and praying for this and growing in this, that and sometimes it felt like it was so far away. It felt like it was like unrealistic. And then other times it felt like it was going to happen tomorrow. And I remember that was a promise. And I felt like, man, that is what God is going to give you. He's going to give you, that is your promise. But once again, when you get into a situation of your promise, you can have a huge, and let me tell you, this is probably one of the biggest distractions of achieving your promise or stepping into the growth of your promise, is you can begin to take your foot off the gas. You can begin to get comfortable. I would say like one of the biggest distractions from progress is probably comparison. You start kind of elevating yourself. You start feeling better than other people, or, you start struggling with that kind of thing. Well, the thing with the promise, the biggest distraction with that area is you actually begin to feel like you've arrived. Like, okay, like I've arrived, I'm here. Like, okay, I got this thing. And that's a very, very dangerous place to be, because you are not going to grow that way. When you feel like you're settled in your promise, you're not going to grow. Now, I know what a lot of people would say is they would say like, oh, well, maybe you're just content. And I think you would know the difference. And I think you know what I'm saying. If you have a certain feeling that you feel when you're in your promise, like if you feel like you just can kind of like autopilot, that's how you know, like that's the distraction coming in. You can't autopilot. Like you're not, once again, going back to the process thing, right? You're not just made to like camp on the mountaintop and just like tap out and just like, okay, I'm done with life. You know what I mean? I got my promise or whatever. Like there's more for you to grow in. There's more for you to steward. There's more for you to plant. There's more for you to water. There's way more for you to do. But a lot of times for us, when we get to our promise, we don't know. We haven't thought that far. We look at things and we're like, man, this is like as far as I thought. Like, I believed for a long time for this, because promise does take a lot longer than all of those other things. The process is something that's immediate. Like, you're continually reminded of the process. The progress comes incrementally. It's slower. The promise takes a long time. It takes a long time. And you could be very tempted to just take your foot off the gas and to just reside comfortably in your promise. And let me just tell you, do not do that. Do not do that. You're missing one of the most critical components of growth that is going to literally change everything. And that is the last stage of your growth, which is the promotion. The promotion. So we have the process, we have the progress, we have the promise, and then we have the promotion. Now, the promotion is interesting because this is where God begins to exalt you before men. This is where you've not only put in the work, you've done the things that you need to do, you've experienced the things that you believed for, but now this is where he supernaturally puts you before men and exalts you before them. And let me just tell you, like, this is something, the promotion cannot happen on your own. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you make. I don't care how much you know or how influential you are. The promotion is a thing that is supernatural and only happens from God. And God knows who to promote. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing about it, is that God, he's not going to make a mistake in promoting someone. Like, he's going to be watching them. He's going to be observing them. He's going to be speaking with them. And at the right time, he is going to promote them. And you will begin to get favor with God and with man. And let me just tell you, it's a whole nother thing when this thing happens. It's a whole nother thing. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, like, what is that? I've never experienced that. Because let me just tell you, truthfully, a lot of people have not experienced it. And the reason why they haven't experienced it is because of all of the little pitfalls along the way where they've tapped out and they've had to start back from square one. But let me just tell you, when you are in this season of promotion, it's actually very humbling. It's actually very humbling. It's humbling in a way that's like, it's almost in some cases kind of uncomfortable. And I think that that's how it's supposed to be. Because if you've gone through all of those stages of growth, the prior 3 stages of growth, when you get to the promotion, your level of understanding of stewardship is so completely changed. It's so radically changed. You're an entirely different person. And now you're figuring out, how can I use these things for kingdom initiatives? Like, you're simply like, this is all bonus. This is all extra. This is all on top. And now it causes like a deep introspection where you're like, okay, God, what have you created me to do? Like, all of your excuses, all of your barriers are all washed away. Promotion comes and it's clear who it comes from. And it's clear that it's major. And so it creates this kind of like internal introspection that goes, wow, what do I got to do with this? And I think that one of the biggest pitfalls in this area is for people, one, to not fully understand it, of course, right? But I think, two, one of the biggest pitfalls of promotion is to think that it's somehow because of you. Ooh, this is a hard one. This is a hard one because if you've gone through the process and you've gone through the progress and you've experienced the promise, when you see the promotion, sometimes you can't help but think it's because of you. And let me just tell you, that is the quickest way for you to fall out of that area of growth of promotion. That is the quickest way for you to fall out of that area, is to think that it was actually because of you. It's not because of you. It's not because of you at all. It's not. It's just the natural order of growth, the way that God intended it to be. And there's a reason and there's an assignment for this area of promotion. And I think that a lot of people do not experience this because this is a hard lesson. This is a lesson that I'm currently learning. Like there may be a fifth area of growth, but I don't know because I haven't graduated the fourth one. So I'm really just trying to understand this fourth one to really be able to understand what to do with it and how to properly understand it. But I will tell you this, promotion is a good thing. Promotion is a great thing. And promotion is something that when it comes from God, man, there is no sorrow, there's no labor, there's no striving, there's nothing, none of that stuff. Like this whole idea that we have in our culture where we're to like labor and struggle and strive and barely cross the finish line. I just don't think that that's true. I just don't think that that's true. I think that we were created to experience these moments that almost feel effortless, that you're just riding in on what God is doing with the gifts that he gave you as you've used them accordingly. It's the success of the tree. It's like the apple tree just thinking to himself, man, I'm the man because I'm bearing all these apples. No, you're really not. There was a farmer who planted you. There was a process. There was certain situations where you had to grow through. There was a progress. There was your first apple that came out of nowhere that you didn't even know was possible. That was the promise. And now the promotion of just apples popping up out of nowhere. Next thing you know, there's another apple there. There's another apple. Next thing you know, you got a whole tree full of apples. And you're like, wow. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that somehow it's because you're some amazing person. Listen, you already know that you're an amazing person. Like you have to know that. Like you were created in God's image. You're already amazing. It's not because of your amazingness that you're doing what you're doing. You don't need to prove it. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. Like you don't need to prove your amazingness. You're already amazing. But all of this promotion is coming because he's amazing. He's amazing. You're already amazing. You don't need to prove it. He said you're amazing. You're amazing simply because you're created in the image of one who's amazing. But all of that promotion, it all belongs to him. He's amazing. So be encouraged. I hope these principles or these stages of growth help you on your journey, because I have no doubt that God's desire for you is for you to succeed in all you do.